Good morning, my name is Kate McFarlane and I'm here with Susie Bannister and Sean Shepherd to represent our group, the Vacterl Visionaries, and talk about our work. There are 7 of us, each has their own profile of the conditions which make up Vacterl Association. Initially, individually, we joined different organisations, including Vacterl Association Support Group UK, Max's Trust for anorectal malformation, and TOFS for tracheoesophageal fistula, because we recognise that as adults born with rare conditions, sharing our lived experiences may help others. Medical knowledge has advanced since we were younger, but there is always more to learn, and the lived experiences of adults with rare conditions are increasingly valued and listened to inform knowledge and understanding for all. We started working on 2 projects separately, one for those with anorectal and renal difficulties, and another for those affected by limb and vertebral differences. But then one of us noticed that we were talking about similar things and the projects had so many similarities, so we came together as a group of 7. It was then suggested by one of our chairs that documenting our journey from being separate, isolated individuals to becoming a group of confident self-advocates and subsequently advocates could help others. Our mission is to be beacons of hope for individuals and families affected by Vacterl Association. Through advocacy, we aim to demonstrate that those living with complex medical needs can lead meaningful, fulfilling lives. Achieving personal goals may require tailored support, adaptive strategies and collaborative care, but with the right resources and understanding, possibilities can become realities. As a starting point to documenting our journey, we reflected on what our lives were like before and the challenges of growing up and living with a rare condition. At times, sharing can be difficult, finding the right words can feel impossible. Our emotions can quickly overwhelm us, and then we may be transported back to that vulnerable, helpless child within, feeling lost, fearful, and out of control. Trusting someone else with your story takes tremendous courage. To be heard and to feel valued, you must first feel safe, supported, and not judged. Over many months, we spoke about our lives and the challenges of living with rare conditions. We shared what it was like to struggle on our own with uncertain futures. For as long as I can remember, I worried I wouldn't be able to go on school residential trips or holidays with my friends. I worried I'd be bullied, I wouldn't get a boyfriend or have children. I was scared that I wouldn't be independent or accepted. I didn't tell anyone about my worries because I thought nothing could be done about them. Instead, I suppressed them and denied and avoided my condition for most of my life, and I hated it. My mum and doctor suggested I could meet others like me, but I refused. I couldn't face the reality of my condition. I chose to be alone. That doesn't mean I didn't feel isolated and alone, and I didn't want to meet others. I just couldn't. Nevertheless, I did my best. I became fully independent with my medical care. I went on school residentials and I went on holidays with my friends. In adulthood, medical-wise, my Vacterl was stable. I continued my long-term medication with a few issues here and there, but nothing I nor my GP couldn't handle. I just got on with it and got by in life reasonably well and had a good quality of life, but there was something missing, an unmet need. I didn't know what it was. As a group, we then reflected on the moment or moments when we noticed a shift in our status quo. When we started to seek out others like us, Googling our conditions, reading websites and articles, applying for our medical records, having honest discussions with medical professionals about our views and taking the reins. For me, there was an accumulation of events 3 years ago where I got a fright. I recognised that my doctors didn't understand my condition. I didn't fully understand my condition. They were making suggestions that weren't going to work for me. They weren't listening to me. I felt so alone and abandoned. I was terrified, and I think a survival mechanism kicked in, a bit like fight, flight or freeze. I joined every Facebook group, posted questions, applied for my medical notes. I emailed specialists and my former surgeon and read articles. And when I was ready, I requested appointments with my doctors. I went in calmly and confidently, equipped with my folder, and told them what I wanted, and they agreed to what I asked for. I came out of those meetings feeling empowered, and that was just the beginning.
This is a lifelong journey. So as a parent, There is no handbook, especially when you have a child with something like Vacterl. I personally, I'm not a parent, but my mum and my relationship is a defining factor in my life. I didn't want to be a self-advocate. I understood that I remembered sensations and smells from childhood operations. It's a hard journey when you have to let your child talk and give them the room to let them speak. That's how self-advocacy works. It's not something that there's a guidebook. We have tried to come up with this article to make it a guidebook and give suggestions, but that's very loose. When you have a child, keep them informed with their medical health. Let them talk to the doctors. Let them be able to understand and ask questions. And remember that it's about independence and autonomy, the right to autonomy. It's your child's choice. We discussed as a group how some members couldn't find their notes. So although it's computerised, it's important for when their body changes as they get older and can give accurate reports. Medical passports are great for this. Learning to talk to doctors is so important for getting children to explain what they are feeling, what sensations and what hurts or what doesn't feel like a normal thing to them. Because nobody will know your child's body better than your child. So giving them the right to say, this feels a little strange, I think I need to see someone, and giving them the right to see someone is so important. For example, when I get something stuck, I know what to do by listening to my body and telling the doctors what I feel, and but to them it makes sense. My mum and I have had many chats about that she wished she advocated for me more, but truthfully she couldn't have. I didn't know what I was experiencing. It was different, but talking about it where I am in pain and what sensations, what I'm feeling, doctors coming up with solutions, by asking your children questions, what's uncomfortable, you can also work out what's normal for them. So listening and hearing them. By asking, your kid will need this as they may not need or want you in the room. That symptoms change and they may not want you in the room. I felt embarrassed sometimes explaining my symptoms and guilt. I was scared I was going to break my mum's heart if she knew how much pain I was in. So having the confidence to do so from a young age and being able to ask questions so that they can understand and I can understand, it was giving me important control and it gave me the ability to be able to self-advocate. I know with the group that carbon copies of myself will not exist, but we discovered things in advocacy, feeling in control, having a choice is so important when it comes to our self-advocacy. Our body, our choice of surgery, our choice of care, and our choice who hears. So many parents nowadays try and talk for their daughter or their child, and it needs to be coming from them because they need to understand it, because you will not be there 24/7, and it's your role as a parent to prepare them for the next stage of their life. So you have to step back sometimes, and as a parent with a kid with a complex disability, I can understand how scary that is for you. I can see that when I talk to my mum and dad, and sometimes we refer to it and going, I wish we said this, or I wish we said that, or I wish you didn't say this, and why did you say that? And it's like, it's a journey. Just as I'm learning my body and how to manage it, you're also giving them the opportunity, you're also having to learn that things are going to upset the rocks and they're going to not be nice. They're not going to be nice, but that's okay. We are not here doing this for ourselves as torchbearers, but to support parents of the next generation and to support families by listening and having collective voices. Although we are from different locations, we cover the same emotions, and it felt so empowering to know we were not alone. People talked about how they managed symptoms and not knowing I'm the only one in pain. My feelings became valid, and so did my fears, and that it's okay to be scared. I used to say to my mum, if she died, I wouldn't be able to cope. But they supported me and understood this fear, and I wasn't the only one who felt this way. I'm able to advocate and I can do things independently. Being torchbearers, I want children to be independent and not codependent on the adults around them. I wish I had the knowledge and methods I have now as a child. I think that's why we wanted to do this group. Help your kids learn that they can change their own stomas. Teach them to have intrinsic confidence, that they can cook, change the bed, that they can leave the house without you when they are older. Prepare them for the next stage of life, may that be starting school, may that be living by themselves. Get them to do small tasks, even if you have to nag them to do it. If you more you nag, the more independent they get. That's the truth. That's why age range and life experience is needed. That's why we listen and we don't judge, as the TikTok says, but we share openly and candidly. This group helped me realise that I do matter and that my experience, although it's not unique to the group, also do matter. Self-advocacies. The theme started by us as a group talking about experiences. One thing we all had in common is that when we started to having to take care of our needs and talking to doctors, we didn't feel like we had our full medical history. There was gaps in our knowledge because we weren't the ones, although we were the ones experiencing it, we weren't as informed as what we wanted to be. So knowing dates of surgeries, knowing what this is like for myself, one of my major fears is if I have a cardiac arrest and no one is around me, they won't know that I've got a dextrocardia, that my heart's on the right hand side. So I got a tattoo which said put the defib on the right hand side, because I was although this sounds like a really weird fear, but it's a realistic one, and it actually helps radiologists when they put me into an ECG. They can also see that she's got dextrocardia. This is part of self-advocacy, getting your kids to understand and say, I have a stoma bag and I'm not ashamed of that. I can change it myself, because a lot of parents keep going about safeguarding in schools. Your kids are old enough to be in school, they're old enough to change a stoma bag. They're able to change a stoma bag. The products you use for the stoma bag is for them. If they can't use that product and put the bag on themselves, that's not the right product for them. They have to be able to have that kind of confidence and that independence, and empower them to do that. I keep all my hard copies of diagnoses and letters and medical letters. Although it's virtual and we can get things, technology, having a hard folder and saying this is all of the things you've gone through, and it gives them doctors a time frame, using things like medical passports, using things like TOFs have got lots of different things, and so does Max's Trust, have lots of different things to support. It's so important. It is a wall of repair for them to prepare them for the next stage. May that be getting them to know what to do when it leaks. Don't be scared, because it is going to leak. There will be stoma leaks. But if you're not there at school and they're leaking, it's better for them to be able to say, I know what to do in this situation, than waiting for a doctor or a teacher or a nurse or whatever to come and say, let me help you. I remember being in year 2 and I had an accident, and I went up to my teacher with a dirty pair of knickers and I said, what do I do with these? And she looked at me absolutely dumbfounded, like, oh my God, when did this happen? And I'm going, I sorted myself out, I just don't know where to put them. So you get a plastic bag, put it in the bag, and that was the end of that. But being able to say, I can change myself and I can do this, it helped me actually gain confidence in other aspects as well. So I can go discreetly now and be like, this is what I need to do to take care of myself. I don't need to make a big scene. And it stopped me from being embarrassed. It stopped me feeling from humiliated, because having that knowledge and being like, I can take control of this, That's what I really want the younger generation to feel, is that they are in control of their own bodies. We discussed as a group the stages of grief. You know, finding out something makes us unique, but at the same time, it's hard to get the confidence. So by starting it young, kids can have their own anatomy, their body, their decisions, their time, pace, not yours as a parent. We as adults want to change the barriers into self-advocacy. That's why we worked on this project. For example, being able to see doctors and being explained the small tests like blood tests, and being able to say, I don't have blood tests in my wrist because it causes me to have infections, or I can't have that because I have issues with my veins. That's absolutely okay to say. And if your kid is asking you questions, don't dismiss it. Ask them as well. Why do you think you need this, or why do you want this? Why do you want this adaptation? Do you really think it's going to help? Okay, we can get one, see if it works, and trying it out. Because it's all trial and error. For all of us, able-bodied, disabled, it's all trial and error. Friendships I gained through doing so, going to charity events, being part of the Vacterl teens and adults. I remember being 15, and it was just as Facebook became a thing. The first thing I wanted to do was find other people with Vacterl. I googled Vacterl teens and adults, and later on today we're going to be chatting to the people I met virtually first of all, which is really exciting, from America. We've had loads of conversations throughout life thinking we are, as a group, as a Vacterl Visionaries, we had loads of conversations thinking we were the only ones experiencing this or that. And it was so important to keep those kind of conversations going. We're not the only ones. It's nice to be in a community. I think self-advocacy as a family helps mental health. So having those kind of conversations and being like, I really struggled, and I found my mum and I have some very, very deep conversations about what she found traumatic as a child. It's different to what I found traumatic as a child. Her having to talk about, I'm going, I don't remember, do you remember when this situation occurred or this situation occurred? And I experienced it yesterday at the pub with Emma, and we're talking about all these different things, and people are going, I don't remember you going through that. Did that actually happen? And it's because we all remember different things of the same situation, and that's something to bear in mind as well. Discuss it, talk about it, and don't be scared to discuss it. Empower each other. That's what this whole project was for. Thank you.
So this is the flyer that can be found on the Eurogen website. We also have some hard copies just over there. And we want to say thank you to Jen Tidman at Eurogen for her support and kindness to enable us to produce this document, which is now being shared with other organisations like Bladder and Bowel UK, TOFS, Maxis Trust, Orphanet, Rare Disease Community, and the Italian arm organisation AIMAR, reaching those with rare conditions. So what is Eurogen, or EARN? They are dedicated to improving care for patients with rare rectogenital conditions, including Vacterl association. We understand that expertise in these conditions is limited and scattered, which is why connecting healthcare providers and pooling knowledge and resources is vital. Prompt diagnosis and intervention are critical to improving outcomes, and collaborative care coordinated by multidisciplinary teams can bridge the gaps in the continuity of care. Our mission is to share, care and raise awareness, ensuring that we all receive the best possible care throughout our lifelong journeys. I can recall many times when I've struggled to find a specialist. I am confident many of us in the room have been referred to by a complex case or being told you're very unique. This experience has reinforced the importance of collaborative care and the need to pool resources and knowledge. Multidisciplinary teams are so vital, especially with conditions that affect many different specialities. So, who are we? We represent several organisations that are committed to supporting patients with rare conditions like Vacterl Association. These organisations work tirelessly to provide resources, support and advocacy for those affected. By collaborating with these groups, we can amplify our efforts and ensure that our voice is heard and valued, because together we can make a difference in the lives of patients and their families. So, by sharing our stories, we learn the similarities we share, the symptoms and the experiences. As a group, we've discussed the importance of learning about your health, knowing where each scar came from and why. I've always referred to mine as my war wounds. By sharing stories, it helps us rise above what broke us. We find strength in our shared experiences and continue to advocate for better care and advise our care specialists. We become experts on ourselves. I have faced many challenges on my journey to advocacy, especially when I was in denial and isolation, living with a condition that I believed nobody else knew or understood. This changed when I saw TOFs advertising for adults to speak about their experiences for a campaign during Rare Diseases Week 2023. I was invited to create a video in which I spoke candidly for the first time about my condition and how it affects me. This then subsequently led to an article in their Tune magazine. Following this, I received an email from Kate Tyler, and her kind words inspired me to go further, especially as she was the first person who I had engaged with, also with Vacterl. This was the first sign I was on a new path. For the first time, I didn't feel alone. There were others. She brought us all together, and the rest, they say, is history. It is so important learning and reaching out, because I've experienced moments of profound joy and connection. I just wish I had done it sooner. I have accepted myself for who I am, and that my experience have shaped the person I have become. And it's given me the strength to rise above the difficulties, and we hope by sharing our stories, we can inspire others to find their own strength and resilience. As one member in our group put it so eloquently, we do this work so that no one else will grow up carrying the weight that we did. So, whether you're an adult just discovering the name behind years of challenges, or a parent holding a new diagnosis for your child, we want you to know there is a community here. There is hope here, and there is strength in every story, including yours. Living with Vacterl Association can feel isolating. We have all walked through confusion, fear, and unanswered questions. But in the darkness, we found each other, and now we're reaching back for you. This is more than a condition, it is a shared experience. And with that comes a shared mission. Together we can change what it means to live with a rare condition. We can raise awareness, demand better care, and ensure no one feels invisible again. Parents, your voice matters. You are your child's fiercest advocate, and your courage, your questions, and your persistence are powerful tools for change. By speaking up, you light the path not just for your child, but for others still searching in the dark. Those with Vacterl beginning your journey, your story matters. You have endured, you have adapted, you carry wisdom the world needs to hear. When you share your experiences, you show others what is possible, and you help build the understanding and care we all deserve. So let's do this together. Let's build a community where every question is met with compassion, where every journey is honoured, and where no one is left behind. Speak up, reach out, get involved. Because even the smallest voice can spark the loudest change. And together we are stronger than anything we face. We can let go of the veil of shame and embrace who we are. It's not always an easy journey, but it can be done. And that's why we are stood here today, to hopefully act as a beacon, guiding others from the darkness of denial and isolation to the light of advocacy and empowerment. So, on a bit of a lighter note, hands up if there are any adults with Vacterl who feel there's not enough support systems is a good word in the UK for socialising, just reaching out to speak to others, sort of just aimed directly at adults. I don't know if there's yeah,
I feel that.
So some people in the room may be familiar. There is a Facebook group, the Vacterl Association's Adult Group UK, and I've got a QR code there. But
It's only for actual adults, just to keep that very much alive.
So we've been working with them as Vacterl Visionaries, and we are trying to boost engagement and sort of start looking at projects such as social meetings similar to the TOFS Cuppa and Chat, where we'll host a virtual meeting where adults can discuss their experiences, just general day-to-day things, just to try and get that conversation started. Also just hosting conversations through the page itself, sort of sparking memories, talking about topics, and hopefully getting that discussion going.
We've also found that a lot of the groups are based in America.
Yeah.
So like having a UK-based group just for adults also means like if you've got a question about advocacy, like how do I advocate to speak to a stoma nurse, what can I do about this, we can try and help. Not that we'll all have the answers, but it's less embarrassing on that group because your parents might not be on that group, if you know what I mean, because you might not want to talk, so you might not want to be in a room with your parents to ask a question. So that's why we've got a group. Yes, Emma?
Can I just ask, how do you differentiate, when you say adult, do you mean 16 plus or 18 plus?
18 plus.
18 plus.
Because we feel some of the questions might be more wanting a bit more.
Okay. I was just asking because in the UK, age 16 is when you can actually advocate for yourself and you can make your own decisions.
Yeah, in healthcare.
Unless you have
but I think it's
mental
more
health
because
needs.
we want to keep it 18 because
okay.
Some of the topics.
should be based, yeah.
Okay.
But also because, okay.
I think I just want to jump in there. Thank you guys so much. It was amazing. But I think we're on a learning curve.
Yeah.
What we don't want to do is be separate from you guys, because as these three very eloquently have put, it's a journey for all of us, and we learn from each other all of the time. But then we also feel there needs to be a safe space for adults, whether it's 16 or adult or 18. I appreciate exactly what you're saying, Emma. Those are kind of things that we're going to go away and talk about. We wanted the Vacterl Facebook group to engage with us more, but sadly that's not really happening at the moment, but we're still early days.
Yeah.
I mean, I said about just the adult group.
Yeah.
Now, whether we can encourage adults to join a couple of chats, whether it's something from here, whether we can work with you guys, we don't know. All we know is we think there needs to be, as with TOFS, and those of you who are familiar with the Tracheostomy Society, it is, I'm sorry, it is in the umbrella expression, but it is an umbrella from prenatal to all people like me. And we have the TOFS local contacts, which is predominantly for families, for parents who have local picnics and gatherings, but also within the TOFS umbrella, as Alan and Sean and Emma here and Caroline, that we have a safe space for Cuppa and Chat. So that is people from all over the world join us on that. We only end up with about 12 people, but we've had New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada, and we run that on a monthly basis. And the one thing that comes out time and time again is, I'm so glad I found this space. I'm 60, and I thought I was the only person on the planet born with TOF, or I'm the only person on the planet born with Vacterl. So these groups are really important. The privacy of you are very important. And as Susie rightly said, there are some things, particularly when you get to the whole ARN stuff, that you don't want to talk like that in front of other people, and also you don't want to burden your parents with. So we know we've got lots of things to sort out. Is that fair to say, Alan? A lot of things to iron out. But Alan and I have had a vision for this collaboration for probably the last 4 years, that we can support each other. Tops, Max's Trust, you know, come and join us at our events. You're all welcome.
Thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes. Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
And I think it's important to say, mums, dads in the room, you've done a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
absolutely.
You're doing a
Don't
fantastic
you know?
job.
And you will continue to be.
Yeah, this isn't taking the individual away from you. You're not taking the son and daughter away from you. They'll always be a son and daughter. It's just a space.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
us guys can
And
moan
it's nice
about
to see them
meeting
grow.
colostomies or
Independently.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a space where we can say, oh, I understand what you're saying. We can use the type of language that might embarrass some parents, to be frank, but we can use that if it's comfortable in that space.
Very quick, sorry.
Well,
Very quickly, with Max's Trust, we had a
No,
space.
that's it.
Kate and I, we attend the Max's Trust conferences, and there is a space within the day for the adults born with anal rectal malformation to have quality time with a couple of leading UK specialists in ARM, in reproductive medicine. So, you know, I'm not suggesting that's something you can do overnight, but again, that's bringing everybody together, but also providing a good supporting network for, and there's somewhere where you can ask them personal questions to your colorectal surgeon, why am I still having problems with, you know, my bowels or prolapse, etc.
So I'd just like to say something as a mum. Your presentation has really moved me, and I've been sat here blogging for the whole thing. I just think that was really powerful, really moving, really meaningful. I think we were slightly disappointed today that with the young new families that we were expecting haven't been able to make it, but this has just shifted the whole focus of today, because it's turned into a kind of a something that's more, there's more young adults in the room than there are babies, so it's much more relevant to the room today than I would have expected it to be. So, and a lot of us are going through transition, so when I say us, I'm talking about race, but this is exactly the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's been happening to me for the first 20 years, and as well as Grace, but obviously I need to now let go, and as you quite rightly pointed out, the parents in the room know how difficult that is to do, so thank you for helping us to understand that, because it's really important, so thank you.